Very good morning to you. Thanks so much for joining us. And I will kick off with the issue of prisons, if I may, because luckily for you, William Smith voluntarily went back to Wandsworth Prison. But in the meantime, the Algerian illegal migrant sex offender who was wrongly released from Wandsworth last week appears to still be at large. Have you got any news on progress in finding him?
I'm afraid not. And I know that the police are doing everything they can to make sure that he's found and taken back to where he should be. But just to start off, I share the frustration, the fury of everybody at the fact that we're seeing accidental releases of prisoners, and it's been going on for years. And
but it's got worse recently.
Well, the previous government, 800 accidental releases. It's continuing to happen because we have, in that very complex big prison system, a paper-based process for identifying which individual should be released and which shouldn't. And it keeps going wrong because you get human error. The solution to it is to invest in digital systems so it's easier to keep tabs on, keep track of the background and circumstances of each individual offender. But the previous government didn't invest in it. We are investing in that system. It will take time to bring it in. But if you look at the state of the criminal justice system that we inherited, they'd cut the police, probation service was broken down. We'd literally run out of prison places, which is why Rishi Sunak called the election early, because he didn't want to have to take the decisions he knew were inevitable because they hadn't built the prison places. We take responsibility for getting on and fixing this broken system, but we are seeing the manifestations of that breakdown.
OK, but I want to focus on what the government's doing now. And the Justice Secretary has caused more confusion, hasn't he, around his announcements on this issue this week. He refused to answer questions at PMQs on Wednesday. He then didn't come back to the House to clarify things when he did have more information. And his latest statement also raised questions. I want to pick into that, if I can, a little bit, because he said yesterday that the release of this Algerian sex offender happened before he introduced tough new checks on the release of prisoners. But just to go into the detail, that statement about the new checks was on the 27th of October, and this man, Kader Sharif, was released on the 29th. So did he get that wrong?
Well, the dates of this, that or the other...
Well, no, it's important, because he said this release happened before he introduced the new checks.
What's important is there have been hundreds of individuals released who should not have been released because we've got a paper-based system that you can't guarantee is getting it right every time. And I'm sure everyone watching this, just like me, just like you, wants the prison system to get this right every time. I don't want anyone that should be in jail accidentally released. And we get that right by fixing the problems that led to it. Now, David called together yesterday, he called in the prison governors. That's the right thing to do. I imagine that there was some hauling over the coals for what has been going on. But he also wanted to hear from them that they are using this new, more robust checking system, still on the paper-based system that we've inherited. But he'll also have wanted to hear from them what more support they need to make sure they get it right.
Well, give us an idea about what these new checks do involve. David Lammy called them the strongest release checks that have ever been put in place. But what do they involve if they can't stop an offender being released early after they've been accused?
What they can do is minimise the risk. And there's double and triple sign-off of certain decisions, and that's the right thing to do. But if you really want to know you've got accurate information for every offender, you need a digital system. We don't have a digital system because the previous government didn't invest in it. We are investing in it. It doesn't happen overnight, just like the new prison places don't happen overnight. But you all know they only built, the previous government, 500 places in 14 years. We've already built 2,500 in 15 months. So we are putting the investment in. You will start to see this broken criminal justice system start to work properly again. Unfortunately, while we're still doing the repair job, you are going to see cracks.
You talk about the cost of putting in this digital system. How much will it be then? You say it'll take time. How long will it take?
We're investing over £2 billion in upgrading the prison system, building the new places, putting the digital systems in place. You've got to repair the probation system. We've got to recruit more police after the previous government came in and sacked 20,000 of them. If you remember, you couldn't get in front of a judge because the courts were full up, even for very serious offending like sexual assault and rape. pipe. People were not getting into court because of that. We have to fix a broken system. You can't do it overnight, but we will take every step we can to make this system as robust as possible while we put in the investment to repair it completely.
There are claims that the government's early release scheme is behind many of these mistaken releases. Is that the case?
But the early release scheme isn't something the government would have wished to do. It's that the prisons were full up. And if you had the courts taking somebody who has committed a serious offence, sentencing them to custodial, and there's nowhere to put them,
so you think
what do you do?
You think it's worth doing,
what
but do you think it might be the cause of some of these mistaken early releases?
The reason Rishi Sunak called the general election early was because he didn't want to be in 10 Downing Street when it became clear to the public over that summer that they'd run out of prison places. So we're getting to work and we're fixing that problem. The reason that there are people being released by accident is because we've got a paper-based system that means that you can't properly track all the information you need taking decisions about individual offenders, prisoners, and where those individuals are located. We're putting the investment in. We will have that digital system.
And the Justice Secretary has talked about these stringent new checks to prevent mistaken early releases. Have any more prisoners been released in error since he introduced those checks?
I don't have the information to be able to answer that, but for as long as we've got a system that is paper-based and is broken, it is likely there will be mistakes. It's why we're investing to put things right again.
I want to ask you quickly about comments made by your new deputy leader of the party, who has said that Rachel Reeves needs to follow through on her manifesto promises around tax, not to raise income tax, VAT or national insurance. She says it's because it's important not to breach trust in politics. Do you agree with her?
Well, you'll know no member of the government can comment on the budget in the days ahead of the budget coming through, but absolutely on the manifesto, we are getting on to deliver it. The reason there's been investment in the NHS to provide 5 million additional appointments, which is what we've done, to cut waiting lists, is because that was a key promise in our manifesto. The reason that we've increased the national minimum wage is to give millions of our lowest paid workers in this country a pay rise. That was in the manifesto. The reason that we introduced a ban on the multi-million-pound bonuses the water bosses were paying themselves for overseeing record levels of pollution in our water is because it was in the manifesto. We will get on and we will deliver that manifesto over the course of this Parliament.
OK, and finally, Lisa Nandy, the Culture Secretary, has been found to have broken the governance code on public appointments when she appointed a donor as a chair of the new football watchdog. Yeah. I mean, you came in as a government promising accountability. This is not a good look, is it?
And she's apologised for what happened. But to be fair to Lisa, she didn't know that he was a donor at the time she appointed him. And as soon as she found out, she took the appropriate action. And the independent investigator has confirmed that. You don't have to take my word for it.
OK, well, Steve Reeve, we appreciate your time this morning. Thanks very much indeed. Thank you.